Yumeji Fujiwara is a high school boy with the ability to predict people's dreams or nightmares. Recently, he has dreams of being chased by a gang of weird cats. One day, Yumeji meets a strange girl after she falls out of a tree and lands on him. After she leaves to look for her hat, Yumeji finds it, only to suddenly find himself in the world from his nightmare, and he is chased by Chaser John Doe and his cat army, who desires his body as a vessel. As Yumeji is cornered, the girl from before arrives, introducing herself as Merry Nightmare, and fights against John. As Merry tries to interrogate John to take her back to the world he came from, John just laughs at her and leaves. Before both she and Yumeji return to the real world, Merry suddenly collapsed, so Yumeji takes her home where his friend, Takabana, and her father help look after her at her family cafe. Merry explains to Yumeji that she had been hunting dream demons, trying to find a way back to the world she came from, only to be met with more questions. Later that night, Merry decides to leave to do things on her own, while Yumeji settles his resolve to help her. Meanwhile, a girl named Yumi with dreams of becoming a nurse ended up in a different dream world with her resident dream demon, Sirio. However, Sirio is suddenly killed, which causes Yumi to lose all her goals. As Yumeji goes to search for Merry, he finds her at the park with a kid named Minato, who has trouble making friends. After playing with her for a bit, Yumeji decides to show off his ability, only to discover that Minato has been having nightmares. He soon ends up inside her daydream where a dream demon named Ichima wants to prevent Minato from making friends so she can become her vessel. Just then Merry arrives and manages to give Minato confidence and banishes Ichima. Minato goes to make some friends while Merry goes off on her own again. The president of Yumeji's literature club, May, has been sending texts to a mysterious boy named Chris Evergreen. Later that day, Yumeji and May, as well as fellow club members Takateru and Saki, bring Merry along to karaoke, while Isina tries to make friends with a transfer student named Chizuru. Later that night, when May comes to the cafe having supposedly been stood up by Chris, she suddenly acts weird and texts herself from another phone. Yumeji realizes that May has become a vessel for Chris, who is actually another dream demon, and chases after her, ending up in her daydream. As Chris prepares to attack him, Merry arrives and defeats him. Before Chris disappears, May asks to look at him and comes off happily from what she sees. From that point, Yumeji decides to work together with Merry to help her find nightmares, and she starts working part-time at the cafe. Isina gets depressed upon hearing her idol, Yukado, announced his resignation from singing on TV. Yumeji and Merry go grocery shopping, where Yumeji learns that Merry had apparently arrived in the real world about 10 years ago. They later meet a girl named Yui, with Yumeji helping her rescue a doll she dropped. Yui, who is actually the willing vessel of a dream demon named Engi, has her trigger a daydream within which Yumeji and Merry are caught in. Engi questions them about someone named Feroz Hercules, before beginning to fight with Merry. As Merry talks about sending Engi back to where she came from, Engi claims that there is no way back for dream demons, revealing her sister was killed when she entered the real world. Questioning whether she has actually been doing the right thing, Merry is unable to fight back against Engi, forcing Yumeji to stand between them, receiving a slash to his chest. Traumatized by the attack on Yumeji, Merry unleashes a powerful aura that destroys the dream world's moon, forcing Engi to retreat. Upon returning to the real world, Yumeji doesn't have any external injuries, but when he gets home he starts feeling pain and falls unconscious. As he dreams, Yumeji once again meets John, who treats his mental injuries. Meanwhile, at school, Saki brings up how many students like Yumi have been suffering from dream loss, in which they give up on their goals. John explains to Yumeji that it's because of him that Yumeji can enter other people's daydreams, and reveals Hercules is an evil dream demon who tempted many others into entering the real world. He also mentions that Hercules may know something about Merry, who allegedly entered the real world without a vessel. After Yumeji's wounds heal, John warns him about another strong dream demon named Mistletoe before he wakes up to a worried Merry. Isina's father impulsively decides to take everyone on a trip to the beach. Isina even invites Chizuru. Merry becomes concerned about what Engi had said to her, wondering if what she had been doing up until then had been wrong. Meanwhile, a kid named Masaru, who came to attend the shooting of a superhero show, gets pulled into a daydream with his dream demon, Delga, who is attacked and killed by none other than Mistletoe, causing the boy to lose his hopes. During the sunset, as Merry considers leaving again, Yumeji says he'll continue to support and help her in order to prove Engi wrong. Having picked up a sprained ankle during his trip to the beach, Yumeji gets it treated at a clinic, which just so happens to be owned by Yui's family. Meanwhile, Isina becomes concerned about what she wants to do after high school. Speaking through Yui as a vessel, Engi apologizes to Yumeji for her actions and explains her situation. As Yumeji fetches Merry at a donut bar to go talk with them, they all find themselves in a maze-like daydream, run by the dream demon Maze Landsborough, who is a follower of Hercules. As Isina leaves her guidance counseling session, she temporarily enters a daydream. Although Merry easily defeats May's henchman, she is hesitant to attack him due to what Engi had told her. He then taunts Engi, explaining that if he is killed, then the dreams of his vessel will disappear as well. Engi attacks Maze out of anger, but Yumeji stops her and Maze escapes with his vessel. After calming down, Engi reveals what she knows about Mistletoe, who has the power to force dream demons into vessels. Meanwhile, Chizuru, a vessel herself, confronts the guidance counselor, Ryota, who is actually Mistletoe's vessel, saying his next target is Isina, who, at that time, Yumeji and Merry discover to have become a vessel. Chizuru, who had previously thrown away all her emotions following her parents' deaths, becomes conflicted between her desire to protect Isina and her duties towards her dream demon. As Yumeji becomes frustrated about Isina's situation, he goes to see Yui and Engi, asking for their help in protecting Isina's dreams. Meanwhile, Maze witnesses Hercules in action as he kills another dream demon, informing him about Engi and Merry, whom Hercules sees as no threat. As Yumeji returns home, he is greeted by Chizuru, who informs him that Mistletoe plans to target Isina, ignoring Yumeji's question concerning whether she is an ally or not. Yumeji and Merry take Isina to Yui and Engi so that they can meet her dream demon, Palette, who explains how Mistletoe forced her to make Isina her vessel. Merry wants to send her back but isn't confident enough to try so with Isina's dreams at stake. Meanwhile, Chizuru confronts Iijima, who reveals his intentions to kill Palette, as well as questioning Yumeji's abilities, though Chizuru is too conflicted by her duties to Lestion to warn Yumeji or Isina. Later that day, Iijima and Mistletoe make their attack on Isina and Palette, also planning to lure out Chizuru and Lestion, but Merry and Yumeji appear to protect them. Mistletoe overwhelms Merry while Yumeji's attempt to rescue Palette is thwarted by Iijima, who reveals Chizuru had done nothing to prevent the deaths of other dream demons. As Mistletoe prepares to kill both Isina and Palette, Chizuru decides to stand in their way to protect her. Having apparently seen something interesting, Iijima and Mistletoe decide to retreat, promising to resume the battle following the exams. As Yumeji and the others grow concerned about Mistletoe's strength, Chizuru brings everyone into her daydream to meet Lestion, who explains that the only way to hurt Mistletoe is a special gun that uses the agony from killed dream demons and the despair from humans as ammo. Later, Chizuru mentions that Lestion will die if he fires the gun, becoming afraid that her memories with Isina may soon be erased. After the final exams are finished, Yijima comes to the cafe and Engi brings everyone into her daydream in order to use her home field to her advantage, but Mistletoe kidnaps Isina and summons a large tree. Engi uses her strongest attack on Mistletoe, but she survives and deals a critical blow to her. With Merry similarly outmatched, Yumeji takes Engi's sword and charges towards Mistletoe. As Yumeji's attack against Mistletoe fails, Leschan sacrifices himself in order to provide Chizuru with a bullet to shoot Mistletoe, shattering her own soul in the process. However, Mistletoe survives the attack and catches Merry in a butt of despair, causing her to face her own despair. Yumeji, however, decides not to give and uses the power of his dreams to replicate John's weapon. As Yumeji takes on Mistletoe's attacks, Yui manages to free Merry, who becomes invigorated by Yumeji's belief in her, restoring Engi's dream world and healing her injuries. As Merry and Engi launch an attack on her, Mistletoe swallows Palette, so that killing her would mean destroying Isina's dreams. Yet, after encouragement from Yumeji, Merry manages to send Palette back to the dream world and defeat Mistletoe, returning everyone to the real world, with Isina perfectly fine. Although Chizuru's dreams were shattered, Yumeji feels confident that she can start over again, as humans are not limited to only one dream. Yumeji and Merry's quest continues,